stay focused on what's most important. That's why you're in the right freaking place right now, okay? Because you need to be focused on your goals. You need to be focused on the things you want. Don't get me started on the headlines. The headlines are what's going to put fear in you. And so, yes, you need to stay on top of what's going on, but don't wallow in it. Stand guard at the door to your mind. Bring in the good stuff. Your focus is going to be critical through all of this. So you are in the right place, my friend, okay? Now, so let me just tell you a quick, brief version of my story for those of you that don't know who I am. And I'll be brief. A lot of you probably heard it already. So I'm an immigrant. I was born in the Netherlands. Think wooden shoes and windmills. And I immigrated when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's Vansha. We ended up in Denver, Colorado, where I lived for 30 years. But when we got there, I tell you, we didn't have much. I remember literally we shopped at an expired food store. They had one for expired food. We bought expired food. We drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, it sounds better than it is. And I wore hand-me-down clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school until finally I said, screw it. And I lied about my age when I was 14 because I was tall at Burger King and I got a job flipping burgers so I could buy my own clothes. And maybe you had it harder than I did. Maybe you have it harder now. A lot of layoffs. I mean, there's been tons of layoffs, and I think it's going to get worse. But here's the thing. I knew I wanted more back then. And luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And with her babysitting money, she was an entrepreneur. She actually invested in the stock market successfully. She did IPOs with no formal education. And she also invested in real estate. Well, her first real estate acquisition was a house right across the street from us. When I was 14, she paid about 30 grand. And when I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep. Like, you just made 20 grand. This is when 20 grand was a lot of money, by the way, okay? This is like equivalent to about 100 grand today. I'm like, you just made 20 grand? You didn't do anything? Screw college, I'm getting into real estate. So I went and got my real estate broker's license, which you could do back then. I could have my own office. I was a broker. Now they got smart, you need some experience, but I did it through education back then, right when I turned 18. Well, my first year in real estate, I made about 8 grand. My second year, maybe 10 grand. My third year, I made over $100,000, which I'm going to tell you back in 1980 was some real money. So what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, this is what I want to share with you because this is why goals are so freaking important. What happened was I met a guy. I was dating his daughter. His name was Gino, and he taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology. How really 80 to 90% of your success in anything is just that, your mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the real estate stuff I talk about on my podcast or, the technical knowledge. It's really mindset. And so fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses that I rented long-term in 3 states. I own thousands of apartment units now. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might say, wow. And I said, wow. And I got a head so freaking big, I could barely fit it through a door. And when that happens, God or the universe has the tendency to give you a nice little smack. Well, that was 2008. I lost $50 million in 2008. And so, what I'm known for talking about, if you've listened to my podcast or heard me interviewed before, is the mindset it took to have $50 million to lose in the first place. And then as importantly, maybe more importantly, the mindset it took to recover from losing $50 million. And the first piece of it is goals, okay? You've got to have what Napoleon Hill in his book Think and Grow Rich calls a burning desire. You got to want it. Why? Because we all have fears. Many of us have limiting beliefs, or maybe we're comfortable. And the comfort zone's a nice warm place and nothing freaking grows there, right? So you got to have those burning desires, and that's what we're doing today. We're creating the burning desires for you. And let's talk about limiting beliefs for a minute. So when I was 6, I immigrated. I told you I was 6 years old, didn't speak English, and immediately got thrown into school and discovered what bullies were for the first time. So I got my butt kicked occasionally. And then my mom, God bless her, proud Dutch woman that she was, thought it'd be a great idea to send me to school in these wooden shoes. These are the actual wooden shoes right here, okay? We found them when she went into assisted living. And these leather shorts the Germans wear for Oktoberfest. So I got my butt kicked again. And then the bullies lived at the end of our street, and they chased me home, and she chased them off with a fly swatter. So the next day, butt kicking. And I came up with this belief system that I wasn't good enough. I used to ask myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? Which, of course, presupposed I wasn't. And then I'll tell you about another story. When I was, I don't know, probably 7 or 8, I had this massive crush on this girl named Carolyn. Beautiful little girl, brown hair, beautiful eyes, and I thought I was in love. Well, one day I'm skipping around the playground, and I had made the mistake of telling my friend Becky that I had a crush on Carolyn. And so I see Carolyn walking over with what looked like half the school, probably about 10 kids, and she comes up right up to me, and this is the first time I'd ever looked her in the eyes, the first time I ever talked to her, and she said, "Do you like mustard?" And I just said yes to anything, and I said, "Yeah, I like mustard." She said, "Well, I hate mustard and I hate you," and everybody laughed. And again, you know, it sounds stupid and silly, but it had a huge impact on me, and that's how I came up with that limiting belief that I wasn't good enough. And a lot of people have these. So I know I'm kind of derailed a little bit on goals, but hopefully this will help some of you. If you've got a limiting belief like that, like I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not analytical enough, I'm too old, I'm too young, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time. There's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99.9% of them are BS, okay? So, you know, but you've got to pull them out into the daylight. You've got to look at them through your adult rational mind and recognize that they're BS. And when you do that, enough times they go away. I mean, I used to be afraid to raise my hand in class in case I'd get embarrassed or humiliated. Now I speak in front of thousands of people a year because I did that. I took the time to do that. Let's talk about this. How do you make 2023 your best year ever? And I've committed to making it my best year ever. I've been working on it. I've been thinking about it. You know, how do you get everything that you want in life? Well, you can't if you don't know what it is, right? You need to know exactly what it is you want with clarity. That's how you get it, okay? And so, you know, that's why this is so absolutely important. And I'm going to tell you, like I said, you've got to create that burning desire. Every successful person I know, I study success, and every successful person I know does their goals regularly, okay, like more than once a year. And you know, goals make us alive. They inspire us. You know, the goal is the target. And so, but here's the thing. It's not about the goal. You've got to have it. We need them to push ourselves, to propel ourselves, to motivate ourselves. But it's really about who we become on our path to our goals. And that we'll talk about that a little more after we do the goal setting. But see, this is a journey. There is no destination, my friends. This is a journey. And when you look at it like that, it's an extraordinary journey. So when we do our goals, I'm going to tell you to set goals that are a little beyond your reach, okay? They're like scare you a little bit because you know, when you shoot for the moon, you know, even if you land among the stars, you're doing good, right? So I botched that quote. That's somebody else's quote. But the point is, you know what I'm saying here. So shoot high. Take the lid off your brain. Imagine if you write it down, you're going to get it. And that's how you create a vision for your future. And let's get into goals. But before we get into goals, we need to talk about visualizing and manifesting everything you want in life. So buckle up. Like I said, make sure you stay hydrated for this. Make sure you're drinking, and because you want high energy for this. And when you start to do the goals, we're going to do something else first. Just bear with me a minute. But once you start to do the goals, make sure you're breathing and hydrated. Okay. So let's talk about visualizing and manifesting everything you want in life, because you need the goals, but you've got to take those goals and do something with them. And maybe you call it prayer. You can do prayer. But I'm going to tell you, every morning, or most mornings, I will sit in my recliner in my office, or I'll sometimes do it laying in bed, and I'll do gratitude. That's what I do first. I do gratitude. I just thank myself for my amazing wife, my beautiful wife, my kids, my foundation, you know, my coaching students, and I'll just do gratitude. But then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And I'll sometimes get emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet. I know some of you are going, oh, good Lord, get on with the goals. I'm telling you, this is how I had $50 million to lose in the first place and how I got it back, okay? So, you know, discount it at your peril is all I'm going to tell you. But you should all have a morning routine like that. A great book that I give to my students is Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning. That's a fantastic book. I've had him on the podcast, beautiful human being. But that's a great book about this. But let's talk about visualizing and manifesting, okay? And again, you could call it prayer. That's basically what I do most mornings. It started, it really became kind of mainstream with Russia. Russia started it, where they had Olympic athletes visualize a race before they did it. And they actually put gauges or monitors on their muscles, and when they were visualizing the race, their muscles fired off in the same sequence as if they were actually doing the race. And it has been proven to enhance performance. And now all Olympic athletes do it. In fact, I think most athletes that are professional in general do it. So that's a great example of visualization. I love this Jim Carrey example. When he was flat broke, he wrote himself a check for $10 million, and he used to go up by the Hollywood sign, and he'd look at it, and he'd visualize cashing it, and that's how much money he made for Dumb and Dumber. Okay? Visualization works, guys. This is a more recent example. Demi Lovato, when she was an unknown, really, back in 2010, posted on social media that one day she's going to sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. Okay? Go watch the Super Bowl a couple of years ago and see who sang the national anthem. So it's also making a declaration is just as powerful as visualization. This is a wonderful example. There was this millionaire in New Orleans that adopted a classroom at one of the Ninth Ward schools. I believe it's the Ninth Ward. It was a tough area where really only about, I think, 18% of the kids went to college. Okay, it was in the teens. It might be 18, 19, 17, but it was in the teens of the kids that went to that school that actually went on to college. And he did an experiment, which is fascinating. He took this class and he bused them to a local college. I think it was Loyola. And he paired each one of these students up with a college student, okay? So they paired up with a college student and that spent the whole day with them. And they went to classes together. They went to the cafeteria together. They walked around campus together, the library. And these young students got the entire college experience. And then they bussed them home. And then all they did for the next few years was like 3 years in school there. Every day for a few minutes, they'd have to close their eyes and visualize themselves going to college. It was in the 80+% of the kids there that went to college. It's extraordinary, the power of visualization. Another great example, Epcot Center. When Epcot Center was groundbreaking, when they had the grand opening, Walt Disney had already passed, and Roy Disney was there. And a reporter came up to Roy and said, it's a shame that Walt didn't get to see this. And this is in, if you Google this, you'll find this. It's an absolute true statement. Roy looked at him and said, the only reason that you're seeing this is because Walt saw it, because he imagined it. So again, the power of visualization. What else? Oh, okay. Now let's talk. I'm going to give you some personal examples for me of visualization. But I want to pre-frame this to tell you this is not me bragging, okay? This stuff doesn't even interest me anymore. But I just want to replace what I'm going to show you with what interests you, okay? Because this process freaking works. But you got to do it. So when I was 18, I knew I had to have a four-door car. And I bought this bone ugly Ford Granada. This is actually not the car. Mine had a gray interior. I couldn't find one with a gray interior, but this one has a red interior. But it was the exact same like that. Gray on the outside like that. Just a piece of crap. But I figured I had to have that to show people houses, right? Well, the guy I told you about that I worked for, his name was Gino, had 2 Corvettes. And I was dating his daughter, so he let me take her out in one. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's the first time I'd ever had, driven a nice car. So I got a picture of a Corvette out of a magazine, this is before the internet, and I put it on the visor of this 4-door Granada, so every time I sat in there, it was right there in front of my face. Within a year or two, I had a beautiful Corvette. Yeah, and that hot mess standing in front of there is me. And I actually did so well, I brought my brother a Cadillac. That's my brother in front of the car, I bought him. But because I had a picture, okay? Another example, this is back when the TV show Magnum P.I. was out. And the actor's name was Tom Selleck. And he was a detective, and he drove a Ferrari. And it was the first time I'd seen an exotic car. I was on the TV, and I'm like, oh my God, that thing is incredible. So I got a picture of that actual car, put it on the visor of my Corvette, and within a year or two, I had a Maserati look just like it from the front end. And because I had a picture. In fact, I saw something cool. I was watching Scarface about a year ago, and that very well could be my car, because they only made 118 of them. But it was in the movie. I'm like, holy shit, that's my car. Anyway, I jumped the gun. Last example. Oh, I think I have a model of it. Yeah, I do. I'm the guy that always wanted a Lamborghini. Okay, and again, please, I'm not trying to brag here, because this stuff doesn't interest me anymore. Just, again, replace it with what interests you. But I had posters in my bedroom of Lamborghinis. My son collected model cars. Hang on. and he had a model. He had about 30 of them. He had a model of the exact same color and style Lamborghini that I ended up getting, which I ultimately wrecked. But anyway, that's the car right there, which was unthinkable when I was 18, but I made it happen, okay? Last example. I always knew I wanted to live on the beach. And I lived in Denver. There's no freaking beach in Denver. But I would visualize the palm trees and the sand and the surf. And, you know, I just knew I wanted to ultimately live on the beach. And 20 years later, I built this incredible, it's a horrible picture, the quality, but you get the idea. 10,000 square feet, $8 million mansion on the beach. I had the beach on one side. I had my boats on the back side. It was called a Gulf to Bay. But again, it was unthinkable when I was 18. So when you're doing your goals, take the lid off your brain. Imagine that if you can get it, you're going to get it. Because that's just how it works. There's nothing you can't do, be, or have. Okay? So just make sure that you do that. But this is really the law of attraction, okay? Whatever you can bring things into your life doing this. If you've never seen the movie The Secret, it's about the law of attraction, and people make fun of it, but I got to tell you, it is real. When I saw it, I'm like, holy crap, that's what I've been doing for decades to get the things that I want. And if you haven't read it or seen the movie, I'd recommend. I've given away probably 1,000 copies of that DVD. Now it's, I think it's on Netflix or something, but I would watch it. It's pretty powerful. Yeah, okay, yeah, a lot of you have. Good. Okay. So again, what you think about gets bigger, okay? Focus is super important, and in what's coming with this economic climate that we're in right now, your focus is super critical. And so, whatever you focus on, like I say, gets bigger, both positive or negative. So be very, very careful what you're bringing in. I'll get people to call me and ask me, how do I get out of student loan debt? I'm like, wrong question. How do you make so much freaking money that the debt's irrelevant? That's the question you need to be asking. They asked Mother Teresa when she was alive if she was anti-war. She said, no, I'm pro-peace. And you see, it's kind of the same thing, but you see what I'm saying here. So your focus is absolutely your reality. Just pay attention to that. But again, when you're doing your goals, make them big enough that they scare you a little bit. Also, make sure they're measurable. They need to be measurable. Don't say, I'm going to lose some weight. No, I'm going to lose 10 freaking pounds by March 1st. That's measurable, okay? So make sure that you make them measurable. Okay, so let's talk about how important goals really are for a second, okay? Here's the thing. When you write down what you want, that's a huge step in the right direction. Most people keep things in their head. If you're in your head, you're dead, okay? And I tell you, a lot of people did New Year's resolutions this last couple of days. Only problem is, they all fail by February, okay? That's why what you're doing right now is so freaking powerful and so important. So again, while you're doing this, make sure you keep high energy, that you, you keep your energy high. Also, what goals do, why writing them down is so important, is it triggers something in your brain called your reticular activating system, okay? And that's that filter in your brain that keeps you from going crazy, frankly. It has you focus on what it thinks is most important to you. And the greatest example of it is when you first buy a car. You never really notice them, and then you buy the car and they're everywhere, right? Were they there before? Of course they were. That's your reticular activating system, and that's why writing your goals down is so powerful. The problem isn't getting what you want, my friends. It's deciding what you want. So again, take the lid off your brain, and that's how you make it happen. Okay, this is kind of cool. They did this study back in Yale in the class of 1953, before I was born. And they asked them how many had specific written goals, okay, long-term goals, okay? 20 years later, they circled back to these people that had done this. They discovered that there were 3% that had written their goals, only 3%. The ones that did were happier, they were healthier, and they were worth more than the entire rest of the class. That's the power of goals. That's why you're in the right place. All right, so let's do this. Let's get started. Get your paper out. If you printed your guide, let's get started. Let's write down everything you could ever possibly want in life. Okay? Go for it. Make sure you're breathing. Remember, the problem isn't just getting what you want, it's deciding. You just have to decide. You have to make a decision. The Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. Okay, it's done. It's not 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it's freaking done. There is no limit to what you can get. So write down all the stuff. There's nothing wrong with stuff. Houses. Where do you want a second house? Tiff and I are getting a second place in Miami here in the next 60 days. Where do you want to have a place? You want a farm, maybe? Been thinking about that too. A farm or a ranch? A house on the beach? A house on a lake? Write it down. And don't limit yourself. There's nothing you can't do, be, or have. What kind of vehicles do you want? I'm actually thinking about getting another Lamborghini. Not so I can drive it around and show it off, just so I can look at it in my garage. Seriously. I've been thinking about it. It's stupid. Actually, the timing's terrible. I'm not going to do it, but I still look at it. Because the money right now, cash is king, by the way, and what's coming, guys. I haven't talked about that, but you want to conserve as much cash as you can so you can take advantage of everything's going on sale. So you want new cars, you want a new house, you want houses somewhere else, write that down. You want a new relationship. Maybe it's relationship. How much money do you want in the bank? You know, your security fund, say in 3 years, and say again maybe in 10 years. How much money do you want in the bank? How much cash flow do you want from your real estate in 3 years and in 10 years? Be specific. What's a goal when you write it down and you achieve it would just be mind-blowing? You'd be like, oh my God, you know you've arrived, that goal. Write that down. What experiences can you create? Where can you travel? Where do you want to travel? I actually have a travel vision board here. I'll show you guys in a minute. Places I've gone or places I want to go again or new places I want to go to. Tiff and I decided yesterday we're going to go to Curacao. I've actually been there once, but we're going to go and stay there. Where are you going to go? What countries are on your bucket list? I'm going to go to Egypt. I haven't been to Egypt. I really want to go there. I haven't been to Asia, which is kind of crazy, but we're going to Japan in March. Where do you want to go? Write it down. And where do you want that second home and that third home? Push yourself. What toys do you want? Motorcycle. I just got a couple of electric scooters. They literally just came today. My maintenance guy's putting them together right now. I'm going to ride it after I'm done here. I'm kind of excited to go ride it around like an idiot. Again, maybe you want a relationship. What are your health goals? Write those down. How are you going to rock your family's world with where you're taking them? Think about that. Remember when my kids were young, we had annual passes to Disney. It was always fun. You want a boat? Write that down. You want jet skis, scooters. Write it down. Keep writing. Again, breathe. If you find yourself slipping a little bit, jump up and down a little bit. Get excited, get motivated, because that's how your brain comes up with new ideas. You want a motorcycle. What do you want? All right. After you can't think of any more stuff, I want you to write down what you want to do in this lifetime. Okay? Like an example, of course, would be places you want to go, but maybe you want to write a book. I'm writing another book on raising capital right now. Maybe you want to learn a foreign language. Maybe you want to learn another skill. If it's multifamily, you need to get your butt to my boot camp coming up January 21st and 22nd. I'm going to give you a phenomenal deal. I'll talk about that in a minute if you want to come. I mean, phenomenal. Maybe you want to climb every mountain over 14,000 feet. I had a friend of mine do that. They just finished with, what is it, not McKinley, Everest. Where have you always wanted to go? Just write it down. That's how you do it. That's how you get it. So what have you always wanted to do this lifetime? So it's everything you want to do, be, or have. It's not just the stuff. Okay? You're doing great. Make sure you breathe. Make sure you're hydrated. Keep your energy high. What do you want to do? Tiff and I started a bucket list and came up with all these places we want to go and things we want to do. It's actually in my phone here, in my notes. There it is, bucket list. Antarctica, Machu Picchu, Thailand, Singapore, Jordan, Egypt, Morocco, ride a motorcycle down the Great Wall, visit all of Japan by train. That one's happening in March. Take Tiffy to Hawaii. I've been there many times. She's never been there. Go on a safari. Go to Cairo. See the pyramids. Go to Sicily. I've never seen Niagara Falls. Got Niagara Falls. Stay in France, Italy, and Croatia for a month each. That's some of the stuff I got on my list. Some of it's a little personal. I won't get too personal, but you get the idea. Write down what you want to do. Do you want to get another degree in something? What skills do you want to master? I want to become better at weaponry. I'm playing with that. I'm having a lot of fun with it. What are some characteristics you want to develop? All right, after you can't think of anything else for the bucket list, I want you to write down who you want to help. Okay? We will do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves. Okay, so this is the fuel, guys. This is what gets your butt out of bed early in the morning, stay up late, work Saturdays, do whatever you have to do to grind for a few years. These next few years are so critical. Grind for these next few years so you can live the rest of your life, and grind like most people won't grind, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. Super important. So if you're you couldn't pick a better place to be right now than doing this right now to get real clear so you maintain your focus through what's coming. So you don't get caught up in the fear. You stay focused on the things that you want. That's how you make them happen. You stay positive. All right, so who are you going to help? How are you going to make the world a better place? I'm going to tell you, incorporate it into your life and your success will come faster. And it'll be bigger because power moves to those who serve. So you're going to help children like I do. I help children. Maybe you're going to help the elderly. Maybe just your family. Okay? Do things for your family. I bought my mom and dad a house here in Florida on a canal, bought them a car, took them on cruises. Who do you want to do things for? Write that down. Your children, your siblings, your parents, your significant other. I was in Vegas doing a big podcast I was on, and I went and spent 20 grand on my beautiful bride because I love her more than anything. She never expects anything, and my greatest pleasure is giving her gifts. Greatest pleasure in life. So who do you want to do that for? Write it down. Taking my parents on a cruise was extraordinary. Write that down. Whatever because this is what's going to drive you. This is what's going to juice you and make this happen. Okay? So write it down. What charities are you going to give to? How much are you going to give? And you might be saying, yeah, you had money you can give and you can do all this. Listen, this is how you get it faster, by giving. So, it's interesting. At my Denver boot camp last year, we did a Hall of Fame for my exemplary warriors. We picked 10 warriors out of 1,000. We picked 10. And we could have picked 100 or more. But we picked 10. And we did a little slide on each one. We put a slide up when I gave them their cool prize on stage in front of 800, 900 people. And I started to see a pattern. On every single slide, they had given back in some way. Built schools, helped the homeless, helped the sexual trafficking, helped veterans. Every single one of them did something. It was extraordinary. I'm like, I was telling the audience, do you see this? Every single one of these people has done something to give back. So you want success, give back right now, even if it's just your time. Super important. Okay, so who are you going to help? Okay, you can't think of another thing. Now I want you to put a number by each goal. Just put a number by each goal. How many years it's going to take you to achieve it. Put a 1, a 3, a 5, even a 10 or a 20. Recognize this though. As human beings, we will overestimate what we can do in a year and massively underestimate what we can do in 5, 10, 20 years. Like that example of that house. It took me 20 years to build that house on the beach. It was unthinkable when I was 18 to have a mansion, $8 million mansion on the beach and, all the stuff that I had at that time. So again, but put how many years it's going to take you to achieve it. And don't overthink it. Those of you that are analytical, don't sit and try to analyze the how long it's going to take. There's no perfection here. Don't try to be perfect. Just put a number by each goal. How many years you think it's going to take? Each one of those incredible goals you just came up with. So put a number by each goal. There's the Great Wall. I want to ride a motorcycle down that bad boy. Probably fall off the edge, but anyway. So put a number by each goal. And those of you super achievers, pick your number one goal once you're done with this. I mean, that goal, when you get it, you're like, oh my God, that freaking goal, okay? And put it in the spot provided. And if you didn't print the goal setting guide, just put the goal there, but leave room. Because you're also going to put your top 3 one-year goals and leave room in between them, okay? So you're putting a number by each goal, how many years it's going to take you to achieve it. You're going to pick your number 1 goal and your top 3 one-year goals. You guys are doing great. Make sure you're breathing. Make sure you're breathing. If you need to stand up and do a little bouncing, just stay awake. Make sure you're hydrated, and you're doing awesome. Hey, Rob. Good to see you, brother. Okay, put a number by each goal. Pick your number 1 goal. I mean, that life-changing, you know you've arrived goal. Put it in the spot or put it on your paper, and your top 3 one-year goals. I'll give you a minute for this. And you're doing great. And those of you that don't have your spouse doing this, or don't have your kids if they're over 10 years old doing this will be on my Facebook. Have them do it. People spend more time planning a birthday party or Christmas party than they do designing their lives. This is designing your life. And let me tell you something. When you have a 10-year, 12, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kid do this, it's extraordinary. It can be life-changing. Have them do it. The goals are important. You got to have the goals. But it's why those goals are an absolute freaking must that's going to drive you. Okay, it's the why. The why is the real juice. So I need you to write some sentences under each one of those 4 goals. If you only have 3, it's cool. No perfection here. But write why that goal is an absolute must for you to achieve, not a should. Okay, we say I should lose weight, I should be a better parent, I should be a better spouse, I should work harder. We should all over ourselves, right? It's not a should. It's a freaking must. So write down why each one of those goals is an absolute must. And when you're writing your why, I want you to use emotionally charged words. Words like incredible and powerful and amazing and beautiful, and just because words will drive you. So use emotion in your words. When so I can show my kids what incredible abundance looks like. So I can retire my beautiful wife or husband. So we can have complete, unbelievable freedom to do whatever we want, whenever we want, go wherever we want, bring whoever we want. Whatever's going to juice you, write that down. It's the why that's going to drive you. And it almost always involves other people, just FYI, just going to tell you. If your why doesn't involve someone else, I would encourage you to involve someone else, because again, we will do more for others than we'll do for ourselves. And this is the juice. This is how you have the juice to grind for a few years like most people won't, so you live the rest of your life like most people can't. And let me tell you, that opportunity is upon us. It is absolutely upon us right now. You do not want to miss it. So write down why it's an absolute freaking must for you to achieve those goals. Even the giant one, the one that's almost like mind-blowing when you achieve it. So I can retire my wife or my husband. So I can pay off my parents' house. So I can take my entire family to Hawaii for a month. Whatever. Whatever's going to juice you, whatever's going to get you to jump out of bed and go make this happen, put it down. You're doing great. Now, should you just do this once a year? No. You should be doing this again in 4 to 6 months. Okay, super important. And this will be on Rod's links, by the way. Last year's is there, but we're going to replace it with this one within a few days. It's on rodslinks.com. But it'll be there all year. So again, have your spouse do it. Have your kids do it. Have your friends do it. Get juiced. Have a goal-setting party. Let me help you guide a goal-setting party. Super exciting. I remember one year we did this on the beach. I did it for a group of friends. Wow, that was a long time ago. Wow. Anyway, I'm getting old. Now, for those of you that already finished your positive whys, got to put some pain in there. And you're not going to like this, but it's super important. I want you to write down what happens if you don't achieve the goal and make it hurt, so I don't feel like a failure, so I don't fail my kids, so I don't fail my wife or my husband, so I don't live a life of regret. Make it hurt. Put some pain in there. If I don't achieve this goal, X, and make it freaking hurt. Because as human beings, we do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. Again, this is the fuel to get you off your butt, right? To push through fear, to push through limiting beliefs, to get uncomfortable. This is it. That magnificent life of your dreams is right on the other side of comfort. And this is what you need to push through. So put some pain in there. So I don't fail my kids, so I don't fail my spouse, so I don't live a life of regret. There was this nurse in Australia. She was a hospice nurse. So she took care of patients when they were about to die. And this is, my mom and dad both passed in the last couple of years, so this is fresh with me. But she asked him a question. And that question was, do you have any regrets? And she wrote a book about it. Her name was Bronnie Ware. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. And you know what the number one regret was? Not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. I can't think of anything worse than that, guys. Okay? So you're in the right place to make sure that doesn't happen. So put a positive and a negative reason why you have to achieve each one of those goals. This is the home stretch, by the way. Okay? So you're doing great. Why does that have to happen? So I can exhale. So I can retire my beautiful wife, husband. So I can show my kids what incredible success looks like. So I can be a role model for my kids, because my kids are going to model me. And if I'm a slug, not doing anything with my life, miserable because I'm in the rat race, what kind of an impression am I making on my kids? Maybe that's the pain you throw in there. If this applies to you, and you know who you are, I'm going to tell you, there were times I felt like that. Not going to lie. By the way, guys, I'm going to also teach you my weekly planning process, because staying focused through what's coming and being effective through what's coming is also super important. It takes about 10, 12 minutes, maybe 15 if I'm slow, but trust me, you'll get incredible value from it. I teach this at my boot camp, but if you're not coming to my boot camp, you definitely need to stay and watch this weekly planning process. Again, maybe you're watching this after I recorded it live, but this planning process is very powerful. It's how I managed 2 large companies at the same time and stayed focused on what was most important. But it also came as a result of not being focused with my kids when they were younger. So, all right. The next thing I need you to write, and I don't know if there's a place for this in your guide, but I need you to write who you have to become to achieve these incredible goals you just came up with. Let me look and see if I've got the guide here so I can see if it's in there. But who do you have to become? What qualities do you have to embody that are already inside of you, but you need to pull them out? Yeah, it's in there. Good. Who do you have to become to achieve these goals? But even if you don't have it, just put them on a piece of paper. Driven, courageous, focused, fearless, giving. What qualities that are already inside of you? Playful, a leader. What qualities are already inside you do you need to embody to achieve those incredible goals? Because what got you here is not going to get you there. This I don't think there's a spot for, but let me just confirm. No, there isn't. I need you to write one big thing. See, it's still a dream, okay? It's still humble. Love it, Mark. It's still a dream right now. But once you schedule it, it becomes real. I need you to write down one big thing and one little thing that you are going to do immediately tomorrow for each one of these goals. So take those 4 goals and write down one big thing and one little thing that you're going to do immediately for each one of those goals. That makes it real. It's no longer a dream anymore. It's scheduled. It's freaking going to happen. So go look at those goals and write down, find a place to write this, maybe next to the goals or on another piece of paper, one big thing and one little thing that you're going to do immediately toward each one of those goals. You're doing great. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you got energy. Jump up and down for a second if you have to. Get your mind going. Get you stimulated. Yes, Craig, I love it. Share your goals to create accountability. The only thing I will say about that is be careful who you share your goals with. Make sure they're around people that aren't going to be afraid of your goals. Because right now there's still a fragile thread. You do not want to break the thread with some naysayer, that's out of fear or jealousy or, fear of being left behind, fear of failure. Their own fear of failure diminishes your dreams. So be careful who you share your goals with. Okay, so what I want to tell you now is you've got to get pictures of your goals and put them around you, okay? You could get vision boards, for example. If you watch The Secret, you'll see John Asseroff on there talk about vision boards. I had him on the podcast. Get pictures, put them around you. Get screensavers. Show you my vision boards. Now, it starts with gratitude. This first one is a gratitude board, okay? Got pictures of my kids when they were younger, for the most part. My kids are 30 and 26 now. Giving my brother a Rolex, my foundation. So it's gratitude board. Why? Because everything starts from a place of gratitude. Everything you manifest in life, you get through gratitude. Okay, that's the most important emotion we have. And then I've got a vision board. I'm going to build schools in Latin America, and I'm really behind the 8 ball on this one. You can see some of the pictures have fallen off, but that's a big one for me that I need to get off my butt and make happen. Here's my travel vision board. Places I've been, places I haven't been yet. Got the Great Wall on there. So I do vision boards for each thing that I want. You can do one with everything. It was a little too cluttered for my feeble mind, so I do one for each one. Okay? But do it any way you like. Let me show you something, actually. This is my planner. Those of you who haven't seen me do this. In the back of this thing, I've got pictures that have been in here for literally 22 years. I'm not exaggerating. They're in plastic. Said gratitude. Starts with gratitude. Pictures of my kids when they were very young. Then I've got pictures of things that I wanted. That house on the beach looks just like this top picture. This is before I built it. Travertine floors, 10-foot high glass, butt together like that. It's just exactly what's on that house. Now I lost that house in all the craziness. Now I live in a compound that looks just like this down here. It's crazy. Before it ever happened. And then, stupid crap like watches. This is still a vice. I've got a lot of really nice watches. The Lamborghini before I ever got it. The Rolls Royce, the Bentley, all this stuff that I got because I had pictures. So get pictures. They freaking work, okay? Put them around you, on your wall. I have them in my exercise room. I have them in my offices, okay? So get them, put them around you. Super important because I'm going to tell you that if you're a boat owner or you own a plane, you know that you're off course about 99% of the time, right? And these goals and making sure you keep them on the top of your mind, even if they just go into your peripheral and you forget that they're there, your brain still sees them. And it's super important that you have this stuff around you because that's how you stay focused on that ultimate outcome. Even though, a boat or a plane are off course 99% of the time, they always end up in the right spot because they keep that goal in their mind's eye. It's the same thing with your goals, okay? So you need to write them down regularly. Again, clarity is power. All right, so planning is next. Before I show you planning, let me just say this to you. It is critical that you decide on your vehicle to how you're going to capitalize on what's coming. Maybe it's buying businesses. That's something I'm actually thinking about as well. Or houses, single family. Or some other real estate asset classes like, shopping centers or office or whatever. But if it's multifamily, my incredible freaking warrior program. If you look in the mirror and think about how things are going for yourself, are you thriving or just surviving? Now, if you haven't heard, I've got this amazing mentorship program. My students are called my warriors, and at last count, they own somewhere between 190 and 200,000 units that we know of. It's an extraordinary group of people that are just flat out crushing it in multifamily. And here's why that's a big deal. We could be facing the greatest transfer of wealth we see in our lifetimes with the current economic environment we're in. Incredible opportunity is already here. If you'd like to apply to our Amazing Warrior program, text the word CRUSH to 72345 and we'll set up a call. You can look us over, we'll look you over, and I can promise you, even if you don't join the program and it's not a fit, you're going to leave that call better than when you got on it. So again, text the word CRUSH to 72345 and you and I will speak soon. All right, let's get back to it. Get into my weekly planning process. And the reason that this resonates with me so much is because, when I was living in that mansion on the beach, my kids were, very young, 3, 4, 5, 6, in that age group. And I was so focused on success that I would come home and I'd play with them every night, but I wasn't present. I wasn't there mentally, and I missed a lot. It's my greatest regret in life to this day. My kids will say I was a great dad, but I didn't live up to my own expectations. If you have kids, you definitely need to watch what this presentation that I'm doing right now. Okay, it's super important. It's a weekly planning process that I've kind of evolved and emulated, and got some of this from Tony Robbins, got some of this from other people, and it's extraordinary that it keeps you focused on what's most important. It's how I manage 2 large businesses at the same time, multi-million-dollar businesses at the same time. So let's get into it. The first step, and you're going to think, oh, okay, duh, that's kind of a duh, and it is kind of a duh, but it's super important. Happiness does not come from the goals, okay? When I built that house on the beach, I tell a story, and in fact, I'll just tell it to you right now. 2 months after I moved in, I spent 20 years working for that house on the, by the way, I'm pointing this way because literally right across the bay from when I live now. God's got a sense of humor, and I have to see it out my backyard every day. I lost that house and all the craziness. I've got a beautiful compound now. I mean, it's extraordinary. I'm in a video studio. It's 6 buildings. It's an extraordinary compound. I actually like it better than the house on the beach. But the point is, that's why I keep pointing over there. But anyway, so 2 months after I moved in, so I worked for this thing for 20 years. 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in the pool at night. And just to describe this place, the pool had a giant waterfall from the 2nd floor balcony into the pool. You had to walk through the waterfall to get to the pool. Pool was in magazines. I had tens of thousands of dollars worth of special trees that kind of bent out over the pool, and it was extraordinary. The giant spiral staircase up through the middle of the house. Wine cellar, elevator. On the 2nd floor, I had aquariums that were special built, curved around the spiral staircase. The aquariums cost me almost $200,000. So it gives you an idea of the house. So 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in the pool at night, and I'm looking up at this testament to my ego, which is really what it was. I built it to prove to the world I was good enough. And I got depressed. And I don't mean a little depressed. I mean, I was really depressed, okay? And I'm like, what is going on? I've just achieved success like times 10,000. How could I possibly feel bad? And I mean, I had a beautiful family sleeping inside. I had all the toys and the boats and the jet skis and the Maserati and the Mercedes and all the stupid crap I thought was important. And so I went and saw Tony Robbins that year. This is 22 years ago. I'm actually going to go see him in next week, which I'm kind of excited about because I haven't gone in quite a while, and I love getting that energy, getting juiced. So I'm a learner. I'm always learning, guys. I should show you a picture. I've got a picture of me with all the lanyards from all the different events that I go through. I sometimes show hundreds of boot camps and masterminds and things I've been to. But anyway, so I went and saw Tony, and I saw that he fed families for the holidays. And I'm like, what a concept, do something for someone else. And I'm embarrassed to say I had to be 40 to get that memo. This is 22 years ago. I'm 62, 63 in 7 days. Damn, I'm old. Anyway, so I saw he fed families for the holidays, and I went back and I called my brother Ed. I said, hey, let's feed 5 families, because I was going back to Denver for Thanksgiving. I said, let's feed 5 families. So he called his church, found 5 families who really needed help. And we bought food and toys for the kids, and we had frozen turkeys and just all kinds of stuff. It was a lot of fun. And the 3rd family changed my life. We go up to this house, and it's this crappy 1-bedroom, and there's a woman in there, a Hispanic woman with 5 kids. And it wasn't even a 1-bedroom, it was a crappy 1-bedroom. And she comes out, she sees all the stuff on the porch, the toys and the food, and she starts crying. Her kids come out. 2 of the older ones start crying. I start crying. And I'm blessed to say in the last 22 years, we've now fed 130,000 plus kids here in Sarasota and Bradenton, Florida. I've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies for kids. We just did 1,700 backpacks in August last year. We're about to do a few thousand teddy bears. I've done tens of thousands of teddy bears. We're about to do a few thousand for the Sarasota Police Department for officers to keep in their vehicles again because they've run out. We've done this again for decades now, and they give it to a child if a child's been in a traumatic situation. Now, I don't say this to brag either. I say this because we've been taught to achieve to be happy. Like we shouldn't be happy until we've achieved. But I'm going to tell you, if you incorporate giving back, we talked about this a little bit ago. If you incorporate giving back, you are happily achieving. Okay? I know it's a play on words, but it's an important one. And success will come faster. The money will come faster. Now, you don't do it for that reason. But see, Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Achievement's a science. You want to learn multifamily, get your butt to my boot camp. You know, I'll give you the roadmap or the blueprint. You just got to go do it, right? That's a science. There's no secret sauce. You just have to go do it. But fulfillment is an art, okay? Like really being fulfilled. And so you got to figure out what juices you. For me, it's kids. Maybe for you, it's the environment or animals or the elderly, whatever it is. Give back right now because the success will come faster and you'll be fulfilled. But anyway, back to planning. The number one step is you've got to acknowledge your progress because progress is what makes you happy. It's not the ultimate goals. That's why I wanted to share that. I worked for that house for 20 years and I wasn't 2 months after. It's like no big deal. You know, they say the happiest days of a boat owner's life are the day they buy the boat and the day they sell the boat. You need the goals, but they're not what's going to make you happy. They're going to create that burning desire to get your butt moving. But happiness comes from progress, but you have to acknowledge it. So once a week in this planning process, you need to pat yourself on the back and say, good job for anything that you did, even small. So that's step one. And don't overlook that process. Do it consciously. Don't poo-poo this first step. Super important because even if you're going to have setbacks, you're going to have delays. But if you're acknowledging your progress, you'll be happy. Super important. So that's step one. Step two is journaling. If you have kids, Ilana, this is for you. If you have kids, once a week at the very least, journal any magic moments you had with your babies, okay? I did this. They're actually up back on I won't pull them out now, but they're on a wall back here in my video studio. And I wish I'd have done it a lot more. Just anything that made you tear up or just was amazing, beautiful moment you had with your kids or with your spouse, capture it because we forget so much, okay? Even if this takes 5 minutes a week, okay? I'd recommend you do it more than that, but at the very least do it when you do your weekly plan. So acknowledge your progress and then journal magic moments, just 5-10 minutes, okay? Then step three. This is the first time you do this process. You have to create a list of the most important pieces of your life, okay? So you're not gonna do this right now. You just take notes to what you need to do because there's not gonna be enough time for me to sit here and have you do this, but you can do that. You need to do this. So you need to write down all the most important people in your life, the people that really matter, okay? And I'm not talking about associates. I'm talking about close family and great friends. Even in a big family, I couldn't imagine you'd have more than about 18 people here, okay? I think I had 12 on mine, okay? So it's a list of the people that really matter, that you need to touch regularly, okay? And make a list of those. Then you need to list the most important pieces of your core job or your business if you own a business, okay? So, list the important pieces that you have to pay attention to on a weekly basis. Okay, like if you own a business, it might be bringing business in the door. Then it might be servicing that business. Now, I remember I had a litigation support company, and I had to, we managed law firms, and I had pleadings preparation and documents and calendaring and IT and sales and marketing, things like that. But if you have a W-2 job, you know what's important to you. So you list those important pieces, okay? So you've got the people that matter, you've got the important pieces of your core job or business. Then the third thing is you need to list the important aspects of this multifamily business that you're going to focus on. Building relationships, building a team, finding deals, finding the money you need for your deals. Going through Rod's training materials, going to my YouTube videos if you're not, in my Warrior program or going to my boot camp. But studying this, I don't care if it's with me, but studying this business. So whatever, have a list of those things, those impact areas in the multifamily business. So you're not fumbling around with what to do when you do your planning process, okay? So you got the people that matter, your core business or work, and your side hustle that you're going to be working. If it's not going to be multifamily, then put the important things, whatever side hustle you're going to do, list those, okay? Now, the next thing you do is you put some personal declarations down, okay? Like things you're going to commit to doing on a weekly basis. So you know, they might be around relationships or health. Like I've got lift one body part every day. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm standing in front of it. Okay. I've got lift one body part every day, read a good book for 30 minutes. I've got what can I do to rock Tiffy's world this week, because nothing makes me happier than to make her happy. And so, you know, maybe it's spirituality, but these are declarations, guys. These are not goals, okay? Super important. But here's the thing. Once you've got this list done with these declarations, you need to type it on one sheet of paper if you like Word and do it on Word, or you need to handwrite it, but put it on one sheet of paper. Why? Because this becomes one of the most powerful pieces of paper in your life, because it's your whole life. Everything is right there in front of you. Everything that matters in your life is on one sheet of paper, okay? Then every week you're going to look at that and you're going to make sure nothing gets missed. If there's some people you need to send love to, if there's some core pieces in your core job you need to work on, if there's, you know, things you're going to push your multifamily business forward, nothing gets missed, okay? So again, but you want to have it on one sheet of paper. Why? Because it's also going to give you clarity, and clarity is power, okay? And it also, it either definitely diminishes, if not eliminates overwhelm. It's counterintuitive, but when everything's in one piece of paper, you're not overwhelmed, okay? So if you find yourself getting overwhelmed, this is super important. Sorry, I see somebody, Ted, I see that. Thank you for helping, buddy. I was blocking the thing here. But anyway, where was I? I shouldn't have looked over here. Okay, so handwrite it or type it, put it on one sheet of paper. It is a very, very important document. Now, the next step is once a week you're going to pull that thing out and you're going to make sure nothing gets missed, right? Now, so what you're going to do then is create your task list, all right? You're going to create your task list from this thinking list. I call that my thinking list, by the way. That list that I just talked about is my thinking list, or my impact list. Where can I have the most impact? Like when I managed 2 large companies, I had to focus on the most important pieces of those companies so I didn't get caught in the busy work. I didn't get caught in the minutia. And I do this with my warriors sometimes. They'll call me and say, what do you think of this logo? And I'm like, you don't even have a deal yet. I don't want to see your freaking logo. Go out there and build relationships and go get a deal going. Focus on what's most important. So this is what helps you with that when you've got that impact list and thinking list. So you're not caught up in the minutia, okay? Very important. Now, when you do your task list, you are not putting goals there or projects there. You're only going to put, if you've got a goal or a project, you're only going to list the things you're committed to doing that week towards that goal or that project, so that the list is not overwhelming, okay? So it's only going to have the things you're committed to doing that week. I call it my weekly must list, okay? And so, you know, so you're going to do your task list. Once you've got your task list done, there's always a small number of items on that list that will get you exponentially further. It's called the Pareto principle, okay? And it's like the 80-20 rule. There's 20% of those things that'll get you 80% further. You need to circle those and identify those. Every week, you identify the things that'll get you further, faster. And then you block time for them. That's it. Okay, that's it. It's that simple. Now here's the thing. When you do that, nothing's getting missed. You're focused on what's most important. You're identifying that 80-20, that 20% gets you 80% further, and you're blocking time for it. You are a freaking machine. Now, if you are a parent or in a relationship and you find that very often you're with the people that really matter and you're not present, you're not with them, then you better block time for them. And I know that sounds crazy, but yeah, from 6 to 8 p.m., phone's going in the freaking drawer. I'm going to be rolling around on the ground with my kids, or I'm going to be focused and present with my wife or husband. And that's how you create and maintain extraordinary relationships. I hope this resonated with you guys. Tell me if you enjoyed that. And appreciate you guys. Go make it happen. Go make this your best year ever. It's just a decision and massive freaking action. I'll see you on the inside. Take care.